Welcome to Old Fox Racing PS4. This week we are at the Old Spa circuit with the Lotus 49. You'll see a lot of action, as you can see from these pictures. Cars flying and all sorts of mayhem as we start race 1, which is round 23 of this championship. We are entering the final stages, and today, instead of Project Cars 2, we are playing Mario Kart. No, just kidding, this is Project Cars 2 with a bit of mayhem. We've got Andy Booth and Diogo Silva on the front row. The lights are about to be out, and it's a great start by Andy Booth. Great start by Andy. Diogo keeps second place, and in third place it is Kev Allen. And we already have some action here because Andy Bramall, who is in the 5th spot, has already got a drive-through penalty. I wonder what's going on here with Andy. Certainly something that is going to spoil his race. And Kev Allen has got into second place. Andy Booth leads into Camel on the first lap. We are approaching Lecombe, and here is Kev Allen on the inside. No, he wasn't able to complete a pass. Andy Booth continues to lead commandingly. Oh no, he's not. He's being passed by Kev Allen, and now Diogo Silva is on the attack in the inside in Haut la Côte, but not able to complete the move. We are reaching Bournonville for the first time, and it is Kev Allen who's in the lead, followed by Andy Booth, followed by Diogo Silva, followed by Andy Bramall, but he's got to stop and go at the pit lane, and that's still quite a far. Oh dear, there's someone that has gotten off the road. That is Jambo. He's got hit from behind by Stuart Brand, and Scott Daveley almost joins the action as well. Big mayhem on the first lap. Jambo did almost their complete bowling strike. I mean, he took off a number of the side marks. I don't even know how to call those, unfortunately, but he's back into the race. That's what's important. And here is Diogo Silva is in second place. Diogo Silva is in second place, followed by Andy Booth, so we didn't see that move. Andy must have had some sort of problem or a mistake, and Diogo just went past. But who has benefited from this mostly is Kev Allen, that from third place on the grid, he basically by Stavelo, which is where we are now, he's in the lead, and the other two guys are sort of like entertained with one another. They've crashed a few times in the past. Let's see how they behave today. They seem to be following each one his own lane, and that's useful, I guess, not to crash. Andy Booth has got back into second place now in La Carrière, but I suspect that's not the end of the battle, also because we are on lap 1 out of 7. Only 7 laps today. This is a very, very long circuit, around 3.5 minutes every lap, so it's still a good 25 minutes or so, which is the normal length of Old Fox Racing. These guys unfortunately cannot do any longer than that. In fact, well, look at this. Andy Booth has now actually recovered a lot of ground, and he's 7/10 of a second behind Kev Allen. We are going to see very shortly a race for the lead. Following now Stuart Brand and Todd Antonio. They are 5th and 6th. Todd is 5th and Stuart is 6th. Great start from Todd, and now he's in the grass. He's in the grass and he's going to spin. No, he's in the grass trying the rallycross line over there near La Source. After Blanchimont, he's lost the position, and Stuart Brand in the number 20 yellow Lotus has gone into an excellent 5th place. In the meantime, I suspect that Andy Bramall has he actually done his drive-through? I wonder. I think he's doing it as we speak, because he's just losing time and losing positions. He's lost 4th place now for Stuart Brand. He's lost 5th. Scott Daveley has gone into 5th. The cameras are not showing this, but you can see on the leaderboard there on the left. And Andy Booth. Oh no, sorry, it's Kev Allen. Kev Allen has gone out in Lecombe. Kev Allen has gone out at Lecombe, and there is a crash. A crash between Diogo Silva and Andy Booth, I believe. That's not the first time it has happened. They are now side by side into La Côte, but Andy Booth retains the lead on lap 2. Kev Allen did a good job actually getting out of that crash at Le Combe. He crashed on his own, but fortunately in that particular corner, as in a lot of corners here at Old Spa, the barriers are actually very close to the track, and with no damage the car just bounces off the barrier, and the driver can just continue. On board with Diogo Silva, we are in the Malmedy chicane onto the Master Straight, and Diogo has now moved into second place, but he has Kev Allen all over his gearbox, and you can already see cars weaving around, trying to avoid the draft, the slipstream of other cars. There isn't a large effect with this Lotus 49, but, well, drivers seem to prefer to avoid having someone directly behind them. Also a car that reaches the top speed and top revs on most of these straights. So, as you can see here with the top 3, no one is really gaining an advantage whatsoever, because everyone is at maximum speed for this car. Again, in Old Fox Racing, we don't run custom setups. We are old. We don't have time necessarily to spend to fine-tune the car and to find the right setup. We just run, in this case, with the loose setup. There, Kev Allen running wide at Daveley. Again, the barrier is doing a nice job, and the car just bouncing back into the track, and he has hardly lost any time. So if you want to crash here at Old Spa, it's better to do it in a corner that actually has barriers. This area is very bad for that here. La Carrière, as you can see, oh, there's still a barrier. And Kev Allen has been a master of using the barriers to his advantage, which is still allowed within the rules. Of course, if you fall in one of these traps in corners that do not have barriers, then you are really in bad shape, because you are going to end up upside down quite quickly. Battle for the lead, Diogo Silva and Andy Booth. Andy Booth is trying to protect on the outside here at Blanchimont. Let's see if Diogo is able to pass or not. He's certainly on the inside. These two are behaving quite nicely in Blanchimont, but they touch, and they, oh dear, oh my goodness. Andy Booth has gone for a flight. That was a very odd demonstration of the physics of this game. I wonder how it is possible that the car just flew right there. Of course, the interlocked wheels, and Kev Allen has gone wide, and oh dear me, Diogo has hit him, but in reality, I think that Kev just drove into him. Kev just lost it at La Source, and as he was rejoining the track, he was rejoining the racing line, and Diogo was just minding his own business there, and ended up crashing against Kev, who got the worst out of it, really, because he's now dropped into third, whilst Diogo is, well, 0.2 of a second in the lead, really, because he's got Andy Booth after that amazing flight coming back at him quite quickly. And again, this shows that there are good places to crash here at Old Spa. Even if you fly, as long as you land on your 4 wheels, you can actually continue your race and not lose an enormous amount of time. Following in 7th place, Jambo. Jambo has had an eventful first lap. He was hit, well, he ran off the track at Bournonville, I believe, and then was hit by someone else, and now someone has crashed in front of him. That's Scott Daveley. Scott has crashed in Camo. And Jambo says thank you very much, and up to 6th place, and trying to recover from that incident in the first lap. We follow on board with him here at Old La Côte. This is completely flat out left, flat out right, into Bournonville, which is probably the most exciting corner of this entire circuit. It is completely flat out, but you need to be careful not to run too wide, because in the next corner you need to just have the right line, otherwise you are going to lose some time. Now Andy Booth has lost no time in getting to the back of Diogo Silva. He probably has the best pace here of all drivers today, and he wants a win. He has won already this season, but he is looking for his second win. and certainly still has a bit of time to think about his move and to try to come back into the lead. Let's see what happens in this final part of the lap. In the last lap, what has happened is that these two have crashed at Blanchimont, and Andy was launched into the air in quite spectacular fashion. He's not trying to do it all over again. He's going on the outside of Diogo in La Carrière. They're side by side. They're driving like each one his own lane. This looks like a normal road, almost like a normal road overtake, but Andy has completed the pass and he's gone back into the lead, with Diogo now sitting second and Kev Allen sitting third, 4 seconds behind. Kev, of course, has lost some time and he's losing time again. He's losing time again because he has span. This is an example of what not to do in Old Spa, because if you go into that grass area, it's very, very easy to spin and literally you just end up losing more time. Good use there of the reset button by Kev, avoiding losing too much time. But this is the battle for the lead again. Is heating up with the Diogo actually quite quickly through Blanchimont and now approaching La Source and right on the back of Andy. So I suspect we haven't seen the last move in this battle for the lead. Into La Source for the third time. This is the end of the third lap. Of course, La Source in the current Spa circuit is the first corner, but in the old one is actually the last corner with the start-finish line ending up being in this, just before this Eau Rouge Radillon area, which of course nowadays is flat out, not with these old Lotus 49 cars with no aero, and literally you do have to be very careful through the Radillon also to get the right line for the next corner. You cannot do it flat out, but lots of other areas in the circuit you can go flat out. Diogo is following Andy right now here in Lecombe. Slight mistake there, losing a few tenths of a second. It is something that he cannot afford at the moment. He needs to continue to be in the slipstream of Andy to have a chance to recover the lead. These two probably are thinking about working together for a while and at least making sure they've got a gap to third place, and then they can battle it out in the last couple of laps. I guess that is at least Diogo's plan here. He's following Andy quite closely to Bournonville, now through the Malbeny chicane. Very, very tricky area, very easy to get it all wrong and to end up in the grass and spinning. Now into the Master Straight. He seems to be a bit closer to Andy. Let's see if he can make a move here in the Master Straight or in the next straight. From this moment onwards, the cars are basically flat out for, I guess, almost a minute or even more than a minute, as they completely hit the top of the revs of the engine, completely hit the top speed. And of course, with this default loose setup, it is a relatively mild top speed, not great top speed. These cars have here around 275 kilometers per hour, which you can convert in miles an hour if you want. You just have to divide it by 1.6. Now into Stavlo, and Diogo is following closely. This is a very, very tricky corner to get right. Some drivers are doing it in 5th gear, some drivers are doing it in 4th gear. You do need to get the right line, not to hit the outside of the corner, and to make sure you maximize the speed for this very long section. And he's already trying to avoid the slipstream of Diogo, but here he comes. We are on lap 4 and he is approaching Andy Booth. He seems to like this area here of La Carrière and Blanchimont because he's recovering a lot of time, and certainly he must be looking for the lead. Slight mistake there, which means that he's not able to do a move, and he's run wide, and oh dear, he's run wide and span and big, oh, he's lost a lot of time. Good use of the reset button, but he's lost at least 7-8 seconds and counting. And Andy Booth is going to be relieved to see that Diogo has made this mistake, and probably is going to find it quite hard in the remaining 3 laps to recover now what is 10 seconds to Andy Booth, who is showing quite good pace here in this Old Spa circuit and could well be heading to his second victory of the season. Kev Allen, how close has he got to Diogo after this crash? And this crashed again. He's slides off there in Blanchimont, and really Kev should be not making mistakes at this point. He probably has a shot at second place. He's around 8 seconds behind Diogo, and Diogo of course has to recover all the speed that he lost with that crash. So I wonder if we are going to have a battle for second or not. Stuart Brand is in 4th place, doing a good job there. Andy Bramall recovering from that drive-through, which I'm not entirely sure what caused it, but most likely it was caused by a jump start. If you move before the green lights in this game, you will get an automatic drive-through penalty that you have to do during the race, otherwise you'll be disqualified by the game itself. Unfortunately here in Old Spa, the pit lane is actually not very long, as you can see here from Jumbo's onboard. It's a relatively short pit lane. That's why you have a maximum of 20 cars in any race, even when you race the AI in the circuit. Even if it's a very long circuit, the fact that the pit lane is so short makes it impossible to run races with more than 20 drivers. Scott Daveley is in 7th place. We haven't seen too much of him since he went off at Camel a couple of laps ago. He was passed by Jumbo at the time, who's now in 6th, and Scott is now relatively alone in the forest, here in the Ardennes forest, because he's got 6 seconds advantage from Todd Antonio, who is drifting his way through Radion there. Quite nicely done from Todd, but he's in 8th place. Still going to score some points today, but clearly needs a bit more pace to recover 7th place. He's only 7 seconds behind, but let's see if Todd is able to find a bit more pace in these last 3 laps to have a fight for 6th. Sorry, for 7th. Only 8 cars here today. That's less than usual in Old Folks Racing. We're normally used here in the PS4 league to 10 to 12 drivers. Certainly last weekend in Road America we had 11 drivers. We have lost 3 drivers for this round. Simon Allen, who is one of the championship contenders, is not racing today, and this means that he's going to lose some more ground to Kev Allen, depending on where Kev ends up. He's currently in 3rd place. Let's see if Kev, how many points does Kev manage to score to increase his already substantial championship leads. We've also lost Brian Hastings and Phil, both of whom did quite a good job in the last round in Road America, but not running here today. So 8 drivers, all of them will finish in the points, assuming that they have no mechanical problems, which of course they won't, because they are disabled in this simulation, and as long as their internet connection is friendly and does not go away, everyone should be able to score points today. Following Diogo Silva. Diogo has lost a bit of ground to... No, he's not. He's actually gained a bit of ground to Andy Booth, around half a second. Is now 9.6 seconds behind, or make it 8.9. So Andy must have a moment of some sort. Could we still see a challenge from Diogo to the lead? It seems a bit unlikely, because we are now at the end of lap 6, entering the last lap of the race, and 9 seconds is probably a little bit too much, unless Andy Booth makes a mistake, which he often has made in the past. And here is Andy Bramall attacking who? It's Stuart Brand. Yes, it's the yellow, very distinctive yellow, and Stuart has made a mistake. This is a very common mistake at the exit of La Source. Depending on what type of wheel you have, it actually might be difficult to do that corner, and it's very, very easy to just extend too much the turning, and you end up turning more than what you want, and in the exit you are turning into the barrier. That's probably what happened to Stuart. They're on board with him into lap 6. He is in 5th place, which is still a pretty good result. He hasn't had many top 5s this season. Has had a couple in the beginning of the season, but not very recently. So A good job here, and the fact that Phil is not running this round means that Stewart is in good shape to recover the 8th place in the standings on the basis of scoring some decent points in this race and possibly in the next race, and Phil of course not scoring at all. On board with Jambo, he's in 6th place. We seem to have relatively stable positions right now, not a lot of wheel-to-wheel happening here. I wonder if this is the time for a safety car. If there were safety cars in Project Cars 2, which of course we miss them very much, this would be the right time for a caution, for a safety car to bunch up the field and have a dash to the finish with everyone bunched together again. Sadly, that's not the way it works in old folks racing. We do have performance-based driving, so the fastest drivers have built a lead, a substantial lead actually, and they are on course to score some very good results. Andy Booth is on lap 6. He must be very close to ending that lap. I wonder where he is on the circuit. We don't have the circuit map in this view, but he's again now 10 seconds away from Diogo Silva, who is now starting to think about Kev Allen, because Kev has recovered some ground. He has done a couple of very good laps. He's now only 15 seconds from the lead. That's 5 away from Diogo. And I wonder if we are going to see a battle for second place. And here is Todd Antonio again going off in the Malmedy chicane. As I said, that's a very tricky part of the circuit, very difficult to get right. You don't need to use the brakes, but you do need to assess the right level of throttle and your line especially, to make sure you don't lose any time, and prepare the car for the Master Straight, which is really long. It's actually a combination of 2 straights, the Master Straight followed by the Holwell Straight, and between them you have the famous Master King, which of course you can take flat out. So it's really like a straight of, you know, almost 3 kilometers in effect. So very important to take the Malmedy chicane with the right line, with the right level of speed, carry a lot of speed through those corners so that you maximize the speed through the straights, or at least you hit the top speed earlier and therefore lose as little time as possible. On board with Stuart Brand, we are in Blanchimont, and he is almost going off track there. Very tricky corner, this one as well. You do need to put 4th gear there. And here is Todd D'Antonio is in 8th place, and he's catching Scott Daveley. In fact, he's just behind Scott. So good job there from Todd, recovering those 5 or 6 seconds that I was talking about, I think last lap. He has recovered all of those. I wonder if Scott has made a mistake, or if Todd has just caught him with the right pace. But we do have a battle for 7th place here, which is great to see, because the other positions are more or less stabilized, and Scott is going off the road. Scott is going off the road into La Carrière, and Todd is coming after him. Let's see if he can line up a move here into Blanchimont. No, he can't. And I think they are both on top speed right now, so it's going to be tricky unless Scott makes a mistake for Todd to go through here at Blanchimont. But it's a very tricky corner, and Todd has spun. No, he hasn't. He's in rallycross mode and really going on top of the hill and back into the track. That was a good move. I wonder if we can make a new version of the circuit which incorporates this rallycross section for the next race, because I would actually like to see the whole field trying to take that line through Blanchimont. I think that would be a good addition to this circuit, and really mixing up different types of driving, different types of terrain into this could add another element of spice into the racing. We are on lap 7 with Andy Booth. He's your leader. Is 11 seconds clear. Andy has built a commanding lead. I don't think there was any doubt at any point in time that he was a contender for this win, but he has done a marvelous job, and he is really a few corners away from his 2nd win of the season. He's won in touring cars before. Now he's winning in classic Formula 1 cars. He seems to like this category. He's done a good job with the Lotus 25 at Silverstone, if I remember correctly. some very good pace in there, although one of the races he did have a connection problem and was forced to retire. But here in this race he has been the class of the field. He's gone through Blanchimont now, and the checkered flag is in the air waiting for Andy Booth. The champagne is already being prepared, and a few beers are also lined up for the interval between this race and the second race, which will follow straight away. Andy Booth is in the final few corners, and really no doubt that he is the driver of the day of this race 1, round 23 of Old Folks Racing PS4 here at the classic Old Spa circuit. Great roads which you can still drive today, and they were specially prepared for the old folks to come to the Ardennes region and have their racing this Friday night as usual. Approaching La Source, which of course today is the first corner, but for Andy Booth is the last corner of the race, and he has the checker flag in sight, and he is going to win race 1 here at Old Spa. Checkered flag has gone through Andy Booth. Well done, Andy, for his second win of the season. Diogo Silva has managed to keep Kev Allen at bay and score another second place, his second place of the season. Kev Allen finishes third, and Andy Bramall has recovered quite nicely from that drive-through penalty. Although he is going to be disappointed with fourth place on this race, and hoping for better things in the second race that will immediately follow. He finishes fourth. Stuart Brand is crossing the line, not far behind in fifth place. Sixth is going to be Jambo, and seventh Scott Daveley, and eighth Todd Antoni. Todd was actually quite close to Scott, as we saw, but that short rally cross through Blanchimont didn't help his cause at all, and he is going to have to settle for 8th place and 4 championship points in this first race. Let's see how the second race is going to unfold. Qualifying will follow immediately after this, after a short technical and beer break here in Old Folks Racing PS4. We're still following Scott Daveley, who runs, of course, with his nickname Scott Raw, and really has shown some raw pace here that was good enough to finish 7th. In fact, he even was slightly higher up in the early stages of the race before having that almost joining that accident between Jambo and I don't remember who else was involved. But here he is in 7th place. Not a bad result for him today. He's hoping that the next race could potentially even yield a higher result. And here is Todd Antonio crossing in 8th, not far behind. We could have had a battle for 7th again, but that's how it has ended. Confirmation there of the results for you. 25 points for Andy Booth, Diogo Silva, Kev Allen, Andy Bramall, Stuart Brand, James Douglas, Scott Daveley, and Todd Antonio was your 8th place. Big thank you for Scott to rescue us from not having a replay. Thank you, and look forward to race 2 right after.